Mode.
Hello everyone, and welcome to our webinar, How Real-Time Network Monitoring Can Benefit Your Organization, hosted by Matter and Paessler. If you have any questions at all throughout the presentation, please pop them in the chat box or give us a call at the end on 01364 655 161. This presentation is hosted by Grey Matter, so we're a software reseller specialising in a whole host of different software with experience of over 33 years. We've been working with Paessler for about 6 or 7 years now, and I shall now pass you over to Rupert, who will carry out the presentation.
Great, thank you very much, Leanne. Much appreciated, and thanks everybody for joining this presentation. As Leanne said, Paessler and Grey Matter go back a number of years now. We've been working together for about 6 or 7 years, very, very successfully. Grey Matter have consistently been our number one partner in the UK, and to that end, obviously the most obvious choice with whom to do an end-user focused webinar. So, what I thought I'd do is go through the agenda first of all, just give you an idea of what's coming in the next sort of probably 35 to 40 minutes or so. I'll give you a bit of an introduction to who we are, to who Paessler is, where we sit in the general sort of marketplace. Then I'd like to give you some pointers around what criteria are important to potential customers, why we need monitoring, the evolution of it, some interesting use cases, including how PRTG can both change your life as a person responsible for IT and improve your Prawn Cocktail, and then some licensing and a bit of basic architecture towards the end. As Leanne said, if you do have any questions, please pop them in the chat box, and we'll do our best to get them answered in the next, as I say, 35 to 40 minutes or so. If anything pops up after the event, then obviously you can get in touch, and I'll be available for the rest of the day. So Paessler is a privately owned organization. We were founded in Nuremberg in southern Germany in 1997 by a chap called Dirk Paessler. Dirk is still CEO of the company and very active still, right down to day-to-day coding decisions. He's now got 2 fellow board members and a team of managers that help him with decisions that affect the future of the company. And we have around 100, and actually a little bit more than that, 145 staff these days from about 20 different nationalities. From a product perspective, we try to focus very much on our customers and what they need, what you need, rather than what our competitors are doing or what the analysts recommend we do, for example. And this ethos very much underpins the sort of DNA of the company, if you like. We're very agile. We believe we're a very friendly company to deal with. And we hopefully take a lot of pride anyway in developing a thoroughly enjoyable product to use day by day. Monitoring, as some of you probably know, is the sort of solution that you open up first thing in the morning and the last thing you close down late at night, or potentially even not at all. So we like to think that our product is very usable, very user-friendly, and makes your life a lot easier. The company is 100% owned by the founders and the employees. There's no external sort of support, financial support. There's no VC funding or anything along those sort of lines, and we've seen fantastic growth over the last few years, very financially stable. 70% of the Fortune 100 are customers. However, that's not to put off the SMB space, quite the opposite in fact. Paessler and PRTG fits very, very well within that space. In fact, that's who we target. Just so happens that the larger customers like to use PRTG within divisions of their organizations, within departments, within sort of individual offices, just to maintain good visibility of what's going on. It's a very powerful solution, very affordable and very easy to use, and we'll look at it in a bit more detail in a second, but our user count is somewhere around the 150,000 mark these days. We do have a freeware edition, which I'll also talk about later on, and that accounts for about a third of that number. So probably about 100,000 paying customers and 150,000 people who use, or organizations who use the product worldwide. Here is a sort of usual chest beating slide. These are obviously very well respected, very well known household names, and we're very proud to have sold our product to them, and we're very pleased that they continue to use it. However, as I've said, this is not the kind of typical customer for us, if you like. The typical customer for us is a much smaller organization who nevertheless has the desire and need to maintain not only visibility but also control over their infrastructure. Quite often these organizations are growing fast. They're bringing in new technologies, they're taking on new projects and new customers, and that adds further to the complexity of what an IT administrator has to fight day by day. That is very much what we see. And very much why we need monitoring. IT administrators, network administrators these days have a huge proliferation of devices, a huge proliferation of things to be aware of and maintain control over, and it's our job really to try and give you, as the person responsible for that, the information, if you like, to make informed decisions. Monitoring allows you to measure, it allows you to alert, it allows you to manage and to optimize and report, but actually everything really comes down at the end of the day to one single thing, and that is the provision of information. So if PRTG does nothing else for you, we feel very strongly it will give you that information that you need, as I say, to make the right decisions both for your current situation and also for future planning. It also makes you look good in front of your bosses and the owners of your companies. The people that you report to are constantly striving for better processes and better kind of results in what they're trying to achieve. So anything that you can do to help is obviously a massive bonus. PRTG really gives you the wherewithal, the tools to report back on how successful your particular area of that company is. It can enable much more flexibility and much more agility for your organization, and therefore make you much more competitive in your specific markets. PRTG as a product certainly saves you money, and I'll come on to that in a bit more detail in a second. It also offers you security. We're not a security product as such. There are lots of obviously more focused security products out there, but from an information perspective or a provision of information perspective, PRTG can actually quite often flag up things that are happening in your network without you having realized it. Things like viruses calling back to home servers in the middle of the night, that sort of thing that you may not be aware of otherwise. PRTG can flag these sort of things for you. And it also saves you a lot of time, and again I'll talk about that in a bit more detail in a second. So just to go back to the start, why we need monitoring, I think I'm preaching to the converted very much here, and you guys probably know a lot of this better than I do. But things are changing, and things are changing very, very fast. It wasn't that long ago we were talking about monitoring in the context of devices only, just pieces of hardware on their own. Then along came the likes of VMware and Citrix and Microsoft with their Hyper-V product, and really revolutionized the IT industry in many ways. With the flexibility and the agility and the cost savings that virtualization brought, came also some other knock-on effects such as server sprawl, complexity in switching and traffic routing, and of course enhanced storage requirements. So then came the next phase, which we're pretty much in now, where lots of things that typically had nothing to do with IT moved on to the IP protocols, such as voice, voice over IP, CCTV is now IPTV, building controls, all those kind of things. So I think you can see where this is going. The next step in this process will be everything. Everything going digital. We see it already with watches. I'm wearing a Fitbit watch right at this moment. We see it with heating and cooling systems, with vehicles, automation systems in production, fridges, coffee machines, anything you like is becoming rapidly an internet-enabled or a network-enabled device. In a corporate environment, that means that there's going to be one person tasked with looking after all of these new things, and yeah, that's going to be you guys. So it's important really to impress upon customers that with PRTG you're buying a future-proofed solution, if you like. Whatever is being thrown at you now and in the future, we should be able to cover it thanks to our very open architecture. You can create custom sensors for exotic stuff that we've never seen before. and obviously incorporating the talents of companies like Grey Matter as well with their experience to help you get set up, get you up and running, and incorporate all of the individual requirements that you have as an organization. Yeah, you can see from this slide, PRTG covers a huge amount of things. We're not just a device monitoring product, far from it. You can monitor various different types of applications. We cover a lot of cloud services, Gmail, Amazon, Azure, all that sort of stuff can be monitored using PRTG. Remote monitoring, virtual environments, hardware monitoring, PRTG covers it all really. We have about 225 different sensors at the moment out of the box, and as I say, they cover through the likes of the main protocols such as SNMP, WMI, SSH, ping obviously. We cover a huge sort of swathe of the IT marketplace in general. Most of the devices out there, most of the networks out there support kind of standard protocols, and with those protocols PRTG functions very, very well. And as I say, if there's anything that we haven't seen before, you can import management files, MIB files into our custom sensor creation kit and use the product in your very customer specific environment as well. This is important. We need to be able to cover all sorts of different things. It's a very complicated process getting companies up and running in terms of IT these days. You know this, as I say, better than I. Let's take a very simple example, email. If somebody phones up with a problem with their email, they're not getting email, you need all sorts of things to happen really. You have to understand the bigger picture, you have to have an overall view of what's happening, and when somebody complains about one email not being delivered, it could be one of several things really. Firstly, the mail server obviously has to function in the background. You are presumably working on some sort of switch infrastructure, some sort of local area network infrastructure. You presumably have security devices such as firewalls or web content filters, that kind of thing. And obviously the internet and the wide area network has to be up and running as well. If you use cloud-based email, you still need to monitor performance, and if you do it all yourself using on-premise hardware and on-premise devices, then as I say, you have to try and get to the root of the problem as quickly as you can, rather than going through the usual troubleshooting exercises that a lot of companies have to go through. The advantage of PRTG is that it will have probably alerted you to the problem before before your user got on the other end of the phone and said, I can't get email. That's where PRTG really comes into its own. That's where PRTG provides you with the information that you need to make decisions and prevent problems happening before they have a user-based effect. I mentioned security earlier. We're not a security product per se. However, the provision of information carries with it certain advantages as regards security. Here's a few examples of what we can do to help improve your security. These are some of the things that we can monitor. These are some of the things that we can report on, just to give you a little bit more peace of mind. We've actually got a very interesting document that I can send you if you like on how PRTG acts as a fulcrum, if you like, within your security fabric. So if you've presumably got lots of different layers of security, trying to get them to work together and trying to get them to understand the concept of other things being on the network can often be quite tricky. So PRTG offers some pretty valuable assistance, if you like, in such things as antivirus versions, unusual network activity, as we mentioned earlier, backup integrity, and also even the environmental stuff. I don't know if you guys have heard of a company called Jakarta. They do very clever environmental monitoring solutions for data centers. So for example, they report on temperature, humidity, water ingress, all that kind of stuff. And we work very, very well with the likes of Jakarta and others on that front. It just gives you an all-encompassing single pane of glass view of what's going on, right down to individual, door systems, for example, that kind of thing. What you will find in the monitoring marketplace is that everything you buy has its own monitoring solution. It has its own piece of software normally that goes with it. providing you with all the information that you need for that specific area of your network or that specific device. Where PRTG comes into its own and where monitoring in general comes into its own is bringing all of that together and having a single kind of administration portal for you to use as your first line of defense, if you like. So here are some use cases. This is a very simple example of a dashboard that you could present with the use of PRTG. By publishing a page like this, you can ask your users, before they call you with that email problem that we were discussing earlier, you can actually ask them to check the status of the system. You can post this perhaps on a screen within your environment or on the intranet potentially. And if anything is showing as red, then that means IT know about it already, and that user doesn't need to contact them. So if they have an email problem, they have a look up at the screen, or they go on the intranet and check out the email system that you can see at top middle there. If that's showing as red or even yellow, then obviously they don't need to make a call. If it's showing as green, then that could be a sign that the problem lies with them only, or that they are the first person to experience that problem. In that situation, they are adding value. They're allowing you to make a call on what's going wrong. If they're calling you and it's red and yellow, they're not adding value. They're doing the exact opposite. They're prolonging the situation unnecessarily. So that's a very simple example of how PRTG can act as a reducer, if you like, of your help desk calls. Specifically within industries like production, manufacturing, logistics and engineering, a lot of these kind of digital and analog worlds are beginning to collide. Progressive integration of components that really had nothing to do with IT beforehand is now very commonplace, and this trend of enabling what are pretty much inanimate objects to communicate with each other is becoming much more of a kind of thing that you're going to have to think about. Everything is now connected, everything is this so-called smart product, and everything is becoming almost fully automated in terms of systems intercommunications. So with PRTG, you can actually establish a very comprehensive kind of department-based control station, for example, where business processes are presented pretty much in real time, but also, just as importantly, in a very simplified form. One example of this is the use of PRTG at CeBIT. I don't know if any of you have ever been to CeBIT. It's a technology show that happens every year, I think in March in Hanover. And they bought PRTG to monitor the entry scanners to the various halls. And with that information, they can monitor visitor levels across the show. That allows for better dispersion of people around the site and also avoiding overfilling the halls. So that's a very good example of how PRTG can be used in a sort of manufacturing or engineering type environment. We're also seeing increased use of translation for older systems. Data data is being created and moved on to more up-to-date protocols, and these protocols are then readable by PRTG. And actually, SNMP is, I think, the main one in this. The translator that you can see there in the middle of that diagram is not a Paessler product, I must stress, but there are companies who provide emulation software to enable aging technology to communicate with more modern kit. Some examples of this would include translating building control systems like lighting or security and aircon, for example, onto SNMP. Aircon failure, as you can imagine, in a data center or even a server room would be a massive problem. Servers overheat very, very quickly and therefore shut down very, very quickly as well. So so monitoring data centers and areas where temperature is a concern is a big use of PRTG as well. We can also monitor things like generator leaks, fuel levels on generators, heat, moisture levels, and all those sort of things through the use of PRTG. Another thing we're seeing, actually, particularly in Germany at the moment, is the various different challenges within hospitals and healthcare environments. 24/7 operations obviously mean that systems have to be constantly available. and IT staff often aren't, or are at reduced numbers overnight, for example. Trends like digital patient records, doctors using tablet devices, automated business process, document management systems, interfaces with all sorts of patient management systems, x-rays, medical engineering, research and development, all of these things are rapidly becoming areas that IT are responsible for. And whilst they enable huge step forwards in patient care, they also actually make for a very complex environment. And you simply can't afford things to go down. We have one customer in Germany, as I say, who measures the temperature of the blood fridges in their private hospital, excuse me. And as you can imagine, the consequences of fridges failing and critical blood supplies becoming therefore unusable really doesn't bear thinking about in the case of a life and death situation. So these are there's another example of what PRTG can do. So if you've decided then that you need to either move from your existing monitoring solution or invest in a new solution altogether, there will be certain criteria that you need to go through. And I wanted to suggest 5 selection criteria that really you should be looking at when you are making decisions around monitoring. Firstly, the ease of use for your daily business. As I mentioned a few minutes ago, monitoring solutions tend to be in use either constantly or certainly all day. So you want systems really that are simple and actually enjoyable as well to use. There's nothing worse than little things getting, becoming big things and starting to really annoy you after a while. In monitoring terms, you really want to avoid the requirements for any specialized know-how to use the solution as well. It needs to be a very simple, intuitive, consumer-style almost user interface. And as I say, it should really give you pleasure, certainly not pain. You have enough solutions, I'm sure, within your organizations that give you pain. Monitoring should not be another one. The second criterion should be the various different fields of application that you're considering monitoring. Every monitoring situation is different. Ask yourselves what you're looking at monitoring. Is it just your hardware devices or are you looking at networks as well? If it's networks as well, are you looking at incorporating remote offices? Are you looking at all sorts of different specific things within your estate that perhaps other industries might not have? With our sensor-based pricing and, of course, as I mentioned, the 225-odd sensor types that we offer out of the box, we can provide really good flexibility in how you deploy our product. You can monitor your critical assets in great detail right down to the individual component layer, but the less important stuff might just need perhaps a ping every hour to ensure it's up and running. So PRTG is very adept at covering lots of diverse fields of application. If you are interested in getting down and dirty, if that's the right expression, with PRTG, we allow you to do that. In fact, we very much encourage it. You can mold and shape PRTG to your own specific requirements, or you can speak to Grey Matter and they'll help you with that. However, if you're serious about monitoring those kind of Industry 4.0 things that we mentioned a minute or two ago, you'll definitely appreciate the very open architecture we have. We are a closed source solution. We run on Windows. That doesn't mean to say, however, that you can't work very closely with us. We have a fully documented API, and I mentioned also before the custom sensor creation capabilities. We also work very well with other solutions, such as ticketing systems, for example. So we're not an island. Quite the opposite. We like to incorporate as much into our software as we possibly can. The lines of communication in this are hugely important. As an IT administrator, you neither want too much information nor too little, and PRTG is very flexible with things like administrative rights. You can assign rights according to, for example, AD. The alerting types and the alerting communications, sensor thresholds, those sort of things are all freely customizable for you to do with what you feel is most appropriate for your organization. Everything can be defined in a very granular fashion, so you get a balanced mix of valuable information that's really important to you, and obviously the comfort in knowing that the other things are still up and running, even if they're not reporting back every few minutes. And as I say, you can customize what you see, what you hear, and what you get alerted to by PRTG, not only according to individual devices, but according to your job role as well. You know, if you're a level 3 support engineer, you don't really want to know that a user's laptop CPU is maxing out at 9 o'clock in the evening because he's got an issue with Internet Explorer. It's about getting the right information to the right people at the right time, and PRTG allows you to do that very effectively. And then finally, obviously, the big one is costs. Many solutions are very expensive. PRTG is not, but we provide significant value all the same. I firmly believe that we offer the best value for money on the marketplace. We've actually seen scenarios where a new PRTG license costs the same as an annual renewal for another product. So just consider other costs too, like we were saying earlier, running costs, training, staff, all that kind of thing, soft costs if you like, contribute to this as well. So if you're looking at particularly open source solutions, yes, it's free to acquire, but it's certainly not free to run. And if the skills leave your organization for whatever reason, you're often left high and dry. We get lots of people coming to us from organizations who have deployed Nagios and that kind of thing in the past, and the guy who set it up and the guy who has been running it has left the business, and nobody else can kind of carry on because everything's sort of coded in a very customized fashion. So PRTG doesn't work like that. We have, as I say, a very customizable but user-friendly GUI. And actually this is a very strong kind of message that runs through our organization. We want to be easy to deal with. We want you to easily trial our software, easily test it out. We certainly want to make it as easy as possible to deploy. The fine-tuning that you go through once the auto discovery has completed is fairly self-explanatory. And then when you've completed that, we like to think that PRTG is very, very easy to use. When I say easy to trial, I mean very, very easy to trial. You can either go through Grey Matter, they can send you a link to download, or if not, it's just literally one click on our website. You don't even have to fill out your email. So, how could PRTG change your life? Well, we did a customer survey a few weeks ago, or a few months ago now actually, and these were the results. You can see there's quite a lot of detail, and I apologize for that, but essentially the main one, if you like, is the one on the left there, savings in network management time. 64% of people that we spoke to, and there were 650 people, I think, customers that we spoke to, somewhere in that region. 64% of them said a lot of time was saved, and 24% said that some time was saved. So in total, 88% said that they saved time. Reduced network management costs is obviously another big one, and ease of use, hopefully, as you can see there, was also very, very positive. 79% saying lots of value, and another 14% saying some value. Security, obviously, also of importance, and reliability, also very, very crucial to a monitoring system. The worst thing that can happen to a monitoring system is that it goes down, because not only do you lose access to the monitoring system itself, but you also, by definition, lose access to the information being provided from your entire network. So we have lots of ways of making sure PRTG stays up and is constantly monitoring data for you. How PRTG can change your life? Well, you can go to Egypt, sit on a camel, and have a look at the pyramids whilst checking the state of your network on your smartphone. How life-changing could that possibly be? And in fact, we don't just support Apple. I mean, that was a pretty good vision of an iPhone there, but we support everything that you typically use. Certainly Windows phones, Android, all supported natively by our apps. If you're still using a BlackBerry, we also have a kind of mini HTML site which provides similar detail, but obviously not in the same way as the Android and the iPhone apps. And we also even support the Apple Watch. How can we improve your prawn cocktail? Well, a little bit tongue-in-cheek, obviously, but just as an example of how flexible and innovative our customers are, we have a customer, a user of PRTG in North Caledonia, who actually monitors the salinity and the temperature of the seawater in his prawn farm. He's got some measuring devices within the prawn farm that do that for him. He's converted that information into SNMP, and therefore PRTG can pick up on it and alert him when for example, the water in a particular area is below the recommended temperature levels. He can then move his prawns into a different area and therefore hopefully kind of protect them a little better and thereby improve your prawn cocktail. We also have some other quite interesting use cases. A customer in Holland, their CEO likes everybody to wear a tie, and of course nobody likes wearing a tie in the office these days, certainly not on a Friday like it is today. So the IT administrators set up a system whereby they've hooked PRTG into the calendar system within their Exchange server, and they can see when the boss is in or out of the office. When he's in the office, a little man with a tie comes up in the top right-hand corner of their dashboard. When he's out of the office, the little man in the top right-hand corner has no tie on. And finally, another good example in Germany, I think this is, southern Germany, a town called Augsburg. A guy there has set up, I can send you the link to his website actually, he's set up a website. In Germany, if you have a fuel station, if you have a petrol station, you have to publish your prices online. And so this guy has used PRTG to monitor all the live feeds from the 25 or 26 different petrol stations in a, 10-mile radius of his house, and therefore can give you the cheapest petrol price on the day. As I say, we polled about 650 customers, and it really was very enlightening and very pleasing, as you might imagine, for us to get the results back. Only 3% of the people we spoke to said they wouldn't recommend PRTG to colleagues or don't know. I'd like to think that actually they clicked don't know rather than no, but 97% of people said they've either already recommended it or they would recommend it to colleagues. And in that sense, we don't really have customers. I think we probably have fans. Our community is very strong. We encourage technical contacts within our customer base to really contribute and kind of help each other. And recently we held a social media campaign, which you can see at the bottom there. We asked people to take photos of a PRTG bag in weird and wonderful places around the world, and that was very successful. So as I say, very strong community around PRTG, around Paessler itself. We have a really strong, positive customer base. We're very, it gives us a lot of pleasure to speak to customers. A couple of words on licensing. You'll see there that we have a freeware edition. I mentioned it at the start. The PRTG 100 freeware edition is not some kind of advert-riddled freeware. It's very much a commercial license that we've made free of charge. We make no bones about it. We are seeding the market. We're getting people to use PRTG for free so that at some stage they hopefully upgrade to the commercial versions of our product. We like to think that we're giving something back in that sense, and we're getting people to use the product obviously more often than might otherwise be the case. But it certainly gives you the opportunity to test it for as long as you like, really, within a limited environment. If you've got a home network or something along those lines, you can use PRTG for free to monitor that. It just, we feel, does a great job of getting PRTG out to the masses. The first commercial license, as you'll see there, starts at 500 sensors. Just to give you an idea, a sensor is an individual entity of measurement. In other words, if you want to measure the CPU usage and the hard disk capacity on one server, that would represent two separate sensors. So as you can imagine, it gets into the hundreds and thousands of sensors quite quickly, and therefore the price breaks kind of reflect that. So the first commercial license is 500 sensors, and as you can see, it goes up through the steps, 1,000, 2,500, 5,000, unlimited and corporate. Just a word on the last two licenses there, unlimited and corporate. They will be changing in the next few weeks. Actually, as of July 1st, this price list will be defunct. I'm afraid we're going to be increasing our prices slightly at the bottom end and quite a lot at the top end. So the unlimited will become a product called XL1, and the corporate will become a product called XL5. The 1 and the 5 refer to the core servers that you're allowed to deploy with that license. but on each core server you can then have an unlimited amount of sensors. That is also a slight misnomer insofar as we only support 10,000 if you're using dedicated hardware, but theoretically, as long as you're doing the right things, you can have more than 10,000 on there, and we will still help. We will just probably ask you if there are performance-related problems. We will probably ask you to fire up a second core server and see how you go with that before we offer any further help. So that's how our price list is set up at the moment. As I say, July 1st we'll see at the top end anyway quite a considerable increase. We're increasing the unlimited and the corporate, or the XL1 and the XL5, by about 30%. So if you are looking at PRTG at the moment, if you're trialing and you're considering going forward with a purchase, can I strongly recommend you try and get budget approval before the end of this month so as to secure these prices that you can see there on the right hand side. They are in euros, as you can see, and dollars. Grey Matter will happily provide you with a GBP price. One other thing on the licensing system, our product is all in. So when you buy it, you get the entire functionality, the entire feature set that we have to offer. There are no separate modules, there are no separate plugins that you need to go back and buy every time something new in your network comes along. When you buy PRTG, you get everything that we do both now and forevermore. It's a perpetual license, and then you have the option of renewing each year to benefit from all the product updates, to benefit from the usual kind of maintenance features that software vendors have. You also get support directly with us. You can email or contact us through the web GUI. If you do that, you can upload a support bundle as well. It's quite handy for our support guys to be able to see what's going on, and yeah, just gives us all the information we need. You can also start small and grow. We don't ask you to invest huge amounts of money right from the start. You can begin with your on-premise network. You can begin with your main office if you like, and then you can slowly incorporate other things into your PRTG installation as you go. You only pay the difference between the licenses. There's no penalty whatsoever. So as I say, you can start small and grow in line with whatever you need. As regards maintenance, I mentioned it a second ago, if you do commit to a multi-year deal, which at the moment would be based on these current pricing, so it would actually save you even more money, we would give you a 5% upfront discount for 2 years maintenance and 10% for 3 years. And as I say, that includes both maintenance and support, technical support with us. So I think that brings me to the end of my presentation. I hope the last few slides have given you a bit of an insight into who we are, what we do and why we do it, but I'll pass you on to Leanne now just to finish things off.
Thank you, Rupert. So yeah, as he said, because the prices are changes, please get in touch with us as soon as possible to discuss the product in more detail. If you do have any questions within this webinar, just pop it in the chat bar now. Otherwise, if you're watching the recording, please call us on 01364 654 100, or you can pop us an email at information@greymatter.com, or even just head to our website at www.greymatter.com for more information. If you'd like to schedule a web demo with PRTG, please get in contact as well. We're more than happy to sort that out, and also with the free trial. But otherwise, any other, please get in touch. We're just looking at the questions now. We've got one here. Do you need training to use it? I'll just pass you over.
Yeah, good question. It is a very simple, intuitive product to use, as I mentioned, but having said that, obviously there are things that will crop up where you need a bit of help. What I would suggest in the first instance is that if you go to our website and have a look at the support section on our website, so go to paessler.com, that's Paessler.com, And if you go to the support section, you will see videos. Within that video section, there is a huge amount, well, not a huge amount, but there's certainly a couple of dozen videos there covering the various different facets of our software. There's a basics section which covers things like getting started, obviously getting up and running, deploying remote probes and all that kind of stuff. And then there's also an advanced section which would cover things like clustering and some of the more advanced features of the product, reporting and that kind of thing. So that would be the first stage if you want to kind of help yourself, if you like. Second, there's also a major kind of project going on at the moment to revitalize our knowledge base. What I would say about the KB is it's very, very we use Google to provide the search functionality on it, and that works exceptionally well. So what I would say is if you have a problem with, let's say, I don't know, you're looking for Cisco sensor, just literally put that in the search field and it will come up with hopefully the kind of information that you need. So that would be the third, that would be the second route I would suggest. And obviously the third route would be to contact Grey Matter, who can then either help themselves or get in contact with us here at Paessler. We have myself obviously in the UK from a commercial side, but we also have a pre-sales engineer, Simon Bell, who's based up in near Liverpool, who can help with getting you up to speed on whatever you need during the trial process. So please don't hesitate to get in touch. As Leanne said, we're more than happy to assist over the wonders of the web. Any more questions, Leanne? Another one, can you customize the dashboard, the layout of the dashboard? Yes, absolutely. I hope I made it clear. PRTG is both very, very automated if you need it to be. We have lots of templates that you can use, but also very, very customizable. The dashboards are probably one of the major reasons why people buy PRTG. They are simply, there's a very simple drag and drop functionality. So you click on the device or the part of the network that you want to include in the dashboard, drag and drop that onto the main kind of area of the page, apply the various icons and stuff that we provide you with free of charge to make it a bit more graphically aesthetic, and then apply the type of detail that you want. So whether you want a graph or a pie chart or whatever it may be, we can make that available to you. As I say, there are some templates in there that you can use, or you can create your own. And actually, when you create your own, you'll see very quickly that you can incorporate very simple HTML objects into your dashboards as well. So as an example, our dashboard in Germany at HQ covers pretty much everything that you'd want to see. We've got obviously a tie-in to all of our internal systems, so we can see all of the current state of all the support tickets, all of the sales tickets that are coming in, the trial downloads. We've got obviously the sales figures, comparing sales figures from now to this time last year and from now to this time last month, all split out by region. We've got also incorporated into our dashboard in Germany, we have the local weather, we have the local traffic situation, we have alerts from the local police station. We have all sorts of things incorporated that you might not have necessarily thought of. So I guess the sky's the limit. Creativity is your only real restriction. Have a think about what you might want to include. You can include the CCTV feed from your front door. Whatever it may be, you can put it on the dashboard. The other thing you can do is you can apply read-write restrictions to the dashboard as well. So if you want to kind of publish a dashboard out to a specific department, you can do that with just read access. And if you want to publish out a more detailed, perhaps a dashboard covering uptime, for example, you can allow write access to certain people within the IT department so that they can just click straight into any red alerts, that kind of thing. So very, very flexible, and yeah, covers an awful lot of stuff. Okay, anything else? As I say, you would be well served to go on our website and just have a look around. There's a huge amount of information on there. We make pretty much all of the information we have available to the public. We're not a particularly private company in that sense. We don't sort of withhold information. We're very much about sharing information, both externally and internally, in fact. So anything you need, it's likely to be on there. If not, give me a shout and I'd be happy to make it available to you. Okay, I think that brings us to the end of today's presentation in that case, unless there are any further questions. It just remains for me to say thank you very much indeed to everyone for attending, and I hope it was of benefit to you. My name is Rupert Collier, and if there are any questions, please don't hesitate to get in touch. We look forward to speaking with you. Thank you and goodbye.